The day the Zamboni took over hockey. One time in the little town of Pucksville, there was a hockey team of kids known as the Ice Penguins. They weren't the best team in the world, but they were definitely the funniest. One chilly morning before practice, the Ice Penguins arrived at their rink, the Frosty Arena, only to find that Coach Bob had caught the flu. So, the team was left under the supervision of an odd fellow named Mr. Zamboni, who happened to run the ice resurfacing machine. Now, Mr. Zamboni wasn't really a coach, he just loved the rink, the cold air, and most of all, driving the Zamboni around the ice like it was a bumper car. The problem was, he didn't know much about hockey at all. "All right, Penguins," Mr. Zamboni shouted from behind his huge machine, "today's practice is going to be, well, unusual." The kids were already suspicious when they saw Mr. Zamboni wearing a helmet made of popcorn buckets and hockey pads strapped on backwards. Are we going to actually practice hockey, Mr. Zamboni?" asked Leo, the team's captain. "Of course. But first, Zamboni races," Mr. Zamboni declared. Before anyone could protest, Mr. Zamboni zoomed onto the ice with his massive machine, leaving a trail of freshly smoothed ice behind him. The kids just stared. "Chase me if you can," he yelled, zigzagging across the rink, laughing like a mad scientist. The Penguins, confused but entertained, grabbed their hockey sticks and started skating after him. It wasn't long before things got weirder. As the kids zoomed around trying to tag Mr. Zamboni, the rink turned into a slippery obstacle course. First, Mr. Zamboni added traffic cones all over the ice. Then, he brought out a giant inflatable penguin that wobbled around like it was doing its own dance. "Penalty if the penguin bumps you," Mr. Zamboni shouted from the Zamboni driver's seat. Next came the popcorn cannon. Yes, you read that right, Mr. Zamboni had somehow rigged the popcorn machine to shoot buttery popcorn across the rink. Bonus points for catching popcorn in your mouth while skating, he cried. The Penguins tried their best to play along. Leo zoomed by, caught a handful of popcorn, and stuffed it into his mouth, then promptly slipped on a rope kernel and landed on his butt. Emma, the team's best defender, tried to dodge the giant penguin but got bumped so hard that she spun like a top. Everyone was in stitches laughing. By the time practice was halfway over, the Ice Penguins hadn't done a single hockey drill. They had, however, managed to create a pile of traffic cones, popcorn, and one very dizzy inflatable penguin at center ice. "Okay, enough games," Mr. Zamboni finally said, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "Now it's time for some real hockey." The kids sighed with relief, thinking the chaos was over. "Line up for a face-off," Mr. Zamboni ordered, as he clumsily tossed a giant beach ball into the middle of the rink instead of a puck. Leo raised his hand. Mr. Zamboni, that's not a hockey puck." Details, Mr. Zamboni said, waving his hand dismissively. "Let's see some serious skating." Despite the odd equipment, the kids went with it. Emma swatted the beach ball across the ice, while Leo tried to pass it to Timmy, who was still chewing on a mouthful of popcorn. The inflatable penguin somehow got back into play, and soon, it was a game of hockey meets carnival chaos. Just as things were reaching peak silliness, Coach Bob arrived. He still looked pale from the flu, but when he saw what was happening, he couldn't help but smile. Mr. Zamboni gave a sheepish wave from his seat. "Well, looks like the Penguins are practicing." "Creativity today," Coach Bob said with a chuckle. As the team gathered around to clean up the mess, Leo asked, So, Coach, does this count as hockey practice? Coach Bob grinned. If hockey was half as fun as what I just saw, we'd all be having a lot more fun. But yes, we'll need to work on your puck handling next time. And from that day on, whenever practice got too serious, the Ice Penguins would sneak in a Zamboni challenge, because who wouldn't want to chase a giant popcorn shooting machine once in a while? The end.